everyone. Welcome to The Power of a Teacher, a podcast here highlighting impacts educators are having in the world around us. I'm your host, Vanessa Edmond. Thank you for joining us today. And today I have the honor to be sitting with Miss Brittany Miller.
Hello.
Well, Brittany, thank you for joining us today. Today's episode is titled Beyond the Classroom. So what's next, right? And this episode is centered around, imagine being that one teacher that's wondering, what should you do next? Maybe you've been in the education for so long. Maybe you've been in this classroom. Or maybe you're just starting and wondering, like, I need to chart my path and figure out what I want to do next for this 3 years, for this next 5 years. That's how some people operate, right? So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, Brittany. Brittany, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I knew that I wanted to be a teacher from the time I was a little kid. I used to ask my teachers to give me their old textbooks so I could play classroom with them. And my little sister, I would always make her be the student. To this day, she still says, like, why did I never get to be the teacher? So I used to live in New York, a big Buffalo Bills fan, and then I moved to Florida to be a teacher.
Josh Allen, huh?
Josh Allen is my guy, yes.
Definitely. The fact that you knew from childhood that you wanted to be a teacher, that's quite impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So how you've enjoyed this journey? Is it everything you had hoped that it would be?
I'll be honest and say that there were some struggles along the way. There were some moments where I was like, I don't know if this is for me, but every time I got to work with a kid, it just reminded me of where I needed to be.
All right. As a student, did you ever imagine yourself making such an impact in education?
No. As a student, especially as a math educator, I was actually bad at math. So I remember sitting on the floor of my parents' bathroom with my dad, and we would be getting ready for bed, and he'd be like, okay, you have to take a shower, you have to brush your teeth or whatever, and he'd be like, I'm going to sit out here while you shower and ask you your math facts. And so he would just like force me to be better at math because he put such an emphasis on education. So no, at the time I was like, no, I don't want to do this. But the more people I ran into like throughout my life that said, you know, education is important, or that this is something that you can overcome, I said, you know what, maybe I should help other people do that too.
Definitely. That's a success story, though, to go from like somebody that didn't think you were good at math and then to now being someone that's impacting math education around the world.
Yeah.
So what would you tell the students that are sitting in the classroom now that don't think they're good at math?
I tell kids all the time when I'm with them, like, just because you're not good at math now doesn't mean that you're not learning good problem solving skills and things that you could get better at. And sometimes they're like, that's not true, you know? But like, my brother's 19 and he's just coming to understand some of the things that I used to tell him, and he's like, you're right, I don't know why I gave you such a hard time, like, you were right. So I feel like just saying it to the kids helps them, you know, get a boost of confidence, but it will sink in someday when they need it.
Definitely. It's like so like heartwarming when you're helping a kid and they're like, oh my gosh, like I get it. And then it's like, oh my, like you got it. Like you got this. You got what it takes. What would you say to the people that don't think they are math people?
A lot of people say that too. Or like when we tell them like, you're a math teacher, and they go, and I say like, but math is like some of the most like rewarding things because of like what you said, that you feel like it's so difficult, but once they get it, they get it. So like kids who don't think they're math people, I'm like, why? Just because you're not good at it right now? Just because you're not good at this one thing? Like that's not a thing. You can get better at it. So
definitely, it's one of those things. The more you practice, the more you put it into practice, the better you get at doing it. I remember when I was a kid, me and my dad would play cards all the time. So that's how I learned my math facts. Because we'll play casino, and casino is like a adding games. Mm-hmm. So then once I saw an 8 and a 2, so I quickly know that I made a 10. Mm-hmm. But I know that was in everyone else
Right.
experiences.
Right.
Like for me, I knew math was my strong suit. And I mean, don't put me to teach reading or anything like that.
Yeah.
I had just skills, to get by for myself. But who was a teacher or mentor that inspired you or helped shape who you are today?
I've had a few teachers over the years that inspire you, and I feel like teachers inspire people to do a lot of different things, right? Even if they don't inspire you to do something specific, they're the people that like keep you going because they're not your parents or your people at home, and you're like, oh, maybe they're telling the truth, right? So like my 8th grade teacher, Mrs. Frank, I thought at the time she was the meanest lady. At the time, I'm like, I don't like her. She's always yelling at me, but like I took Algebra 1 my 8th grade year. I don't know how. Because I wasn't good at math. But they were like, no, you can do it. And we're going to put you in this class. And we're going to push you. And being in her class at the end of the year, the sense of accomplishment, because she was stern, made her one of my fondest teachers. Right? But like, at the time, I was like, no, I hate this lady. Like, stop. And it was back in the day when you could like flip your textbook and like she assigned like 30 problems, and you could only do like she could only assign the ones that didn't have the answers in there, and I'm like, this lady's trying to torture me. But she forced me to like do the work. So I'm forever grateful that she put me on the path of like, oh, if you work hard, you can do it. Yeah.
Definitely. If she was watching this episode right now, what would you want to tell her?
So, actually, she passed away.
Oh, dang.
And when she did pass away, I felt like an enormous sense of, like, she doesn't know that, like, she's one of the people that led me to where I am today. So, if I could tell her, I would, like, thank her for not allowing me. Like, there was just not an option to be lazy. There was no option to be lazy. There was no option not to get it. And I think I've carried that with me. And I tell kids, like, they're like, I can't do it or I don't want to do it. And I'm like, no, that's not an option. Like, I'm not giving you the option to give up. And so that's what I would want to tell her.
Definitely. And as you share that, like, this is why I started this podcast, right? Simply thinking about some teachers and be like, oh my gosh, like, if only you knew the things that you do, how it impact the person I became today. And they probably never knew. So then now I wanted to create a platform to just allow people to share how teachers impact them. Because sometimes, like, think about it, something so simple, she probably didn't even know. But now when you go to schools, you make sure kids work. They don't get a chance to be lazy. They have to try because of what somebody else did for you.
Yes, 100%.
What would you tell the teachers that have kids in their class that are not trying?
I consistently tell them when I go in and coach, right, teachers that, like, I worked with this one teacher this year, and she's newer, and when I was a first-year teacher, I'm sure you did too, struggle with the same thing, like, these kids won't work, they won't do their homework, like, what do I do? How do I get them to do the work? And she kind of just gave up near the end of the year, which I think is totally normal for a teacher. But I told her, I'm like, some of these kids come to school and they need you to be like their parent. They need you to be their cheerleader. They need you to not allow them to give up. And eventually, the same mentality. I just didn't let her sit. I made her get up. I said, come over here. Come sit with me. Come sit with these kids. Listen to what I say to them, and you say the same things. So, and she actually was really considering leaving the school, and she stayed this year because she wants to try again.
Now you're increasing teacher retention.
I hope so. Because, like, it's the same thing for adults. When you see your actions make an impact, you are like, I want to do it more. Kind of like when you work out. And, you lose weight, you get stronger. You're like, dang, I got to go back. Because that made me feel good.
Definitely. And the fact that you get to see it in the moment, like her moving forward, it's one of the most rewarding thing of being in our current role. It's like you get to see the teacher at the beginning of the year, and then you get to see them the following year, and you'll be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding. So thinking about your current role, what led you from the classroom into your role as a program specialist?
So I say this a lot when I do like professional learning that, and you've heard me say it to coaches, like no one that's in a coach's role, not no one, but many of them end up there because they were asked to go into that role. Not because they were like, I want to be a leader, They're like, nah, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do in my classroom, and I guess I'm good at it, so somebody, told me to do it. So when I was a teacher, I was told, like, you're good. Your classroom is like your realm. Can you like share that with other people? And the more I like talked to teachers just in my team, and they were like, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I was like, dang, if I could help teachers, I could help more kids. And right there, I was like, I want to help more kids. More kids means I'm going to be a teacher. Yeah. So then I saw this opening and I said, that's my calling. Like, this job is calling to me because I want to impact more kids than just the kids in my room.
Definitely. You see, it's funny because when it was my turn, I think I wanted to impact more students, but then I didn't know what this role entailed. Like, I didn't know to what depth. I didn't know, like, how much my view of education was about to shift. Because I came just from being in my classroom, impacting the kids in my classroom, impacting the teachers on my teams, or everybody that comes into instructional rounds. But when I step into this role and you're going from different schools, different teachers, and you're seeing so many things, I was like, ah. Mm-hmm. But it's so rewarding. Like, I think it stretched my mind in ways that could never, go back. For those who may not know, because we hear program specialists all the time, but like, what exactly do you do?
Yeah, and I didn't know what a program specialist did, kind of like what you said. I didn't know what they did until I got into the role. So, and I think our role is named different things across the country. Because, like, when we go to conferences, when you and I went to Detroit, nobody is a program specialist. So, we are curriculum writers, professional learning experts, and school supports. So essentially a teacher coach in all the capacities with the addition of writing the curriculum.
Which one is your favorite one?
I can tell you which one is my least favorite, and it's curriculum writing. But it's funny because I'm good at it. Again,
I was going to say, you're so good at it, though.
But I don't like sitting there at my desk all day because you know where I'd rather be? With the babies. So school support is my favorite because I get to interact with teachers and kids, and I get to go from a low performing school to a medium performing school and work with teachers and kids from all different backgrounds, and that's just so rewarding, as challenging as it is rewarding, because it does come with its challenges.
Okay. How has supporting multiple schools changed your perspective on learning and teaching?
So I worked in New York. I worked at 2 different private schools, and then I came to Florida and I worked at an affluent school that was mainly a Hispanic population, and then another affluent school which was kind of mixed, Hispanic, a lot of Portuguese, a lot of Spanish influence. Coming into this role, wow, then I got everything. And Orlando has a lot of diversity to offer, so like it just changed my perspective on how many different backgrounds kids, teachers, parents, admin can come from, and how important it is to have that experience to broaden your coaching. Because without that experience, I don't think I would be as a good of a coach or administrator as I am now, getting to have those experiences.
Okay. So thinking about all the coaches that's about to go back to school, what is one thing you will encourage them to do as they head back?
So I went back to school twice already. I was a teacher in my second year of teaching, and I went back for my master's degree, and I got it in differentiated instruction, and it was one of the hardest years of my life because I had to teach full time and then do grad work at night. Still worth it. Just getting to like talk to people that like learn the same things as you and talk about their experiences and learn new things. Like most teachers are lifelong learners. And then at the end I said, I'm not doing that again. And then come, 2 years ago? Last year, I finished my second degree, master's degree, in educational leadership because I just couldn't help myself. So my recommendation would always be to pursue the learning, and our boss, right? So 2 levels up. When I had my skip level meeting with him, he said, you should have the credentials before you're offered the job or before that opportunity comes. And that really resonated with me. And after that, I said, you know what? I need to go back to school because I need to be ready for when the opportunity comes. So if they're teetering or questioning it, go for it. Find the money, find the way, get it done, and have the experience.
And I'm glad you said that because, it's funny because when I met with him, I was like, oh, if you had one advice for me, what would it be? It was the same thing. He was like, get the credentials so then when the opportunity presents itself, you'll be ready.
Yeah.
And then, so sometimes we don't often think about. But
no, I didn't. You put it in perspective. Like, what if the opportunity comes and you're not ready? And I'd be like, you're right. So I just needed to do it.
All right. So which opportunities you think coaches should look for or teachers should look for when they're thinking about what's next for them?
Every time and now this is going into my fourth year in this role, which is long. Because at first when I got on the team, I thought you were on for a long time. I'm like, dang, now I'm on for a long time too, right? So now I'm starting to coach a lot more coaches or admin. And I tell them my number one advice is if there is a professional learning opportunity, go to it. Even if it's not your area of expertise, even if it's not something you necessarily need to learn. Maybe you think you're good at classroom management, but if someone's offering a classroom management professional learning, go to it. Because the more you learn, the more sphere of influence you'll have to affect people. So take the opportunity to learn.
Rooted in learning.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So thinking back about your classroom experience, what experience in the classroom will you say best prepared you for this role?
I think, and this is going to sound bad, but I think dealing with difficult students and parents honestly just made you have like a thick skin because you had to learn like it's not personal. Like sometimes teachers come to school and they have a bad day. Sometimes kids come to school and they have a bad day and they take it out on you. And at the end of the day, like, you have to get your mindset out of, like, this is personal and this is, like, I need to focus on the teaching and the learning and find a way to build the relationship to get past that barrier for them. Because at first, your first couple of years teaching, I mean, I know I've talked to new teachers and you can probably relate, like, you're really focused on, I want the kids to like me. I want the kids to like me. I want them to, like, be happy in my room. I want them to like what they're doing, and that's just not always how it goes. So you have to like get past that and focus on like, am I teaching and are they receiving it?
You know what's funny thinking about like whether they like me? I remember when I first started, I was like, I don't need you to like me. I just need you to learn the math. And then, even though deep in my heart, I want to build relationship with them, but then the focus was like, no, I want you to learn the math. And through learning the math, the relationship stays. Like I could run to, like I'll pull up at a McDonald's near my old schools and then I'll see them. They're like, oh my gosh, miss. They want to tell me all about their life. Or sometimes one girl, she's like, I never got a chance to tell you thank you, but thank you for taking the time to teach me math. She's like, you don't know how many college opportunities I had, and math changed for me when I got into your classroom. And, so it's like those little things that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
All right, thinking about our teachers that's aspiring to either become a coach or an AP or a program specialist or, that wants to go anywhere. What skills or leadership qualities should those teachers begin to develop?
The thing I always tell my coaches is that you need to listen first and act second. Because too often we see a problem and we want to solve it. And that's just who we are. Especially like as math people, like we see a problem, we're like, let's fix it. Let's make a checklist. Let's fix it, right? But like, it doesn't always tell the whole story. So like building that relationship with whoever you're working with, whether it's admin, whether it's students, parents, whoever, building relationships, like you said, is like priority. And also, like you said, you taught them the math, so the relationship comes. But if you can weave in that, like, I care about you aspect, then they're going to be more receptive. So really always focusing on relationship building while also, getting your job done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And definitely, because it's like, they're not going to learn from you if you don't have no relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever showed up to a class and this is the first time they see you? A lot of times, it's going to take a little bit of like, hi, like, how are you? Like,
for sure. They're like, get away.
And then it's like, little by little, you see the walls just start coming down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had one girl, she's like, I knew how to get your attention to help me.
Yeah, because they're watching you. Even though they may act like they don't, the kids are watching you. And they start to recognize, too. Like, when I go to some schools and they're like, district lady. And I'm like, and that's okay. You could call me the district lady. But the fact that you know who I am, I'm like, I'm doing my job.
No, it's funny because they know you want them to learn, but then deep inside, like they know. Like one kid looked at me, he's like, "You have kids?" I was like, "No." He's like, "But you're gonna be a great mom one day."
Yeah, because that's exactly they want you to be there for them, even if they make those faces. Like,
yeah, but really deep on the inside, I think when they see someone who cares for them, it makes all the difference. And even when working with teachers,
I was thinking the same thing right when you said that. I'm like,
if I don't build a relationship with you and I just show up and be like, "Yep, here's what you're not gonna receive that.
Here's everything you did wrong today." Like, heck no. The teacher's gonna be like, "Get out," right?
Who are you? You was in my room for 10 minutes.
Yeah, right? No. So like you said, yeah, teachers are the same way.
Yeah, I think that, and then so a lot of times I'll jump in with them. Like I remember one teacher, he's like, "Oh, I look forward to hear your feedback because I feel like you're in the trenches with me." And then so whether it's like pulling a small group, whether it's just helping them figure out how to do their observation, the next steps to anything, I just be like, "All right, what you need? Here I am."
Yeah, being in the trenches with them, I feel like is key. Like I'm not going in to come above you. I want to go in to help you. Like, give me some kids. Let's sit together. Let's do it. Yeah.
And I think it creates that buy-in because I'm not here to evaluate you for any reason.
I want to help your kids. I want to help you. But it takes a minute for them to see that.
Definitely, because at first you can definitely have the
yeah.
All right. How do you stay connected to the reality teacher experience every day?
Like I said, school support's my favorite. So there are some days when I go to school support and my focus is, it's not on coaching the teacher. My focus is like, I had a teacher this year and she had a death in her family, and like, teacher first, human first, right? And I said, I'm not here to coach you today. We're not going to do anything evaluative, like, give me some kids. Let me take half of them. Let's go. So like, really just being that person that's like, no, I'm a teacher first. So taking on that role as teacher instead of coach when you go back into the classroom helps you stay connected to not only like being in the teacher side of things, but also like what it's like to sit in a classroom full of noisy kids that may not be listening, right? And then the teacher is able to say like, see, this is what I deal with. And you're like, yeah, okay, let's do it together. Let's collaborate. Let's figure out how we can fix it.
And I think that's let's figure out how we can fix it versus not like, here's all the things you did wrong, you go fix these
Here's
things.
your receipt.
Yeah.
That's not going to fly.
No, definitely. So thinking about the coaches that are starting school this year, there's going to be some new coaches. We know that. What's one word of advice you have for them?
Get into classrooms. Like, I see a lot of new coaches kind of haul up in their office, or they're new, they got a new classroom, or it's just a couple tables, and they're like, I got to pull data, I got to look at numbers, I got to plan for my teachers, I got to look at the agenda. And I'm like, no, you need to be in the classrooms with the teachers living their day-to-day. And when I talk to coaches that have been coaching far longer than me, that's what they say. They say good coaches are in the classroom. They're not in their office.
I mean, it's almost like when we think about, or last episode we did with like a basketball coach. You there in the gym working out with the players. You are not.
Right. You're not on the sideline saying, do this. You're in the court.
He talked about he go running with them. Yeah. He read the books with them. He does the things with them to build a team. Okay. What opportunities should teachers say yes to this year if they want to grow professionally?
What opportunities should teachers say yes to? They should, and this is my first thought, is that like teachers, if you want to grow, you still have to first and foremost take care of yourself. So you should not say yes to everything. I remember my first few years of teaching, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I'm going to do after school club. I'm going to help with morning. I'm going to do tutoring, right? And then your day becomes 10 hours and you get burned out real fast. So I'm thinking my advice would be say yes to learning, say yes to opportunities to shadow leadership. If your principal is willing to, even if you're a coach, if your principal's like, hey, sit in on my budget meeting or sit in on this parent conference, absolutely say yes. But be mindful of the amount of yeses you give.
Wow, coming from you, that's deep, right? And that's all about maintaining a balanced life, because eventually you either get burned out, and we don't want that, especially when you're so passionate about teaching. All right, as an aspiring assistant principal, what kind of leader do you hope to be?
I have really been considering this question a lot over the last year, right? So I finished my ed leadership at the end of last summer, and have been actively looking for an assistant principal role. So that has shifted my lens and everything that I do. When I work with APs, I say, would I have handled it that way? And when I work with a principal, like, what would my role be like supporting a principal? And I really think that, like, servant leadership is where I am. And that's kind of like what we just talked about. Like, I don't want to be the person that comes from above you. I want to be the kind of leader that my only job, my existence, is to make sure teachers do a good job. Not that I do a good job, because ultimately I'm not with the kids, right? Mm-hmm. So, and if our role, like, the only reason school buildings exist is to learn, if the kids aren't learning, nobody's doing their job. So, as an aspiring AP, the focus on servant leadership. What can I do? How can I help? Like, do you need me to sit with your kids? Do you need a bathroom break? Do you need somebody just to vent to? Like, how can I make you a better teacher in your classroom? I think is at the heart of good leadership.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's inspiring to hear, right? Because the focus of schools and everything is about the kids learning. And that's like the biggest people we serve on campus. And if they're not learning,
yeah, why are we there?
Then
I don't know where I was, but somebody said that. Like, they were like, why does this building exist? And we were like, I don't know, to have kids. And then, right? And then the more you think about it, you're like, this building would not be here unless it was to have kids learn. But of course, kids learn a lot of things at school. It's not just math or ELA. They learn how to be friends. They learn how to socialize. But even that, like, that's part of our job.
Mm-hmm. They learn communication skills. Mm-hmm. And one of the letters we read, I think it was on episode 2, where the girl thanked her teacher because now she's able to communicate differently. She's able to interact with people differently. So it wasn't so much about the math or the stuff that she learned, but it was lifelong skills that she felt she took away from being in this classroom.
I got one of those letters this year, my first senior letter after being in the same place for over a decade. And it's funny, she said that in her letter, she said, and I can remember this girl like to a T. I can picture her in my classroom, the seat, her face, everything. And in her letter, she did not say that she learned math. And I thought that was so interesting. What she learned was that she was freshly new to this country, and she remembered how I made her feel because some of her other teachers made her feel inadequate because she couldn't speak English. And she said the moment she walked in my classroom, she knew I wasn't going to treat her that way, and that I was going to hold her to the same expectations as everybody else, regardless of if she could speak English or not. So it's kind of like what you're saying. Like, they don't necessarily remember the math, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm. And then they'll remember, like, I remember 2 of my students, they're like, oh, we went to this law program and everybody's asking us how we able to handle so much work and so much the weight of everything that we have in our plate. He's like, but I remember being in your classroom.
And then she's like, that girl did so much work.
And he's like, I had to learn how to manage, you know, being an algebra student while I was in 8th grade. I had to manage the weight of the work that needed to be done. And they attended tutoring, they played sports, and he's like, those skills I took with me. And then now I'm able to navigate through, you know, my college years even much smoother.
That's an important skill that we also have to teach them. How to take notes, how to put things in their calendar. Yeah, we're everything.
Definitely. So here's my question for you. What has each role taught you? Like, when you think about it, being a teacher, being a coach, being a program specialist, and hopefully pretty soon being an AP. So what each role has taught you about the power of a teacher?
Wow, that's a deep question.
Take your time.
I think, like, as a teacher, I learned that, like, you want, as a teacher, to affect 100% of your kids all the time. I mean, if you're a good teacher, right? But, like, as you go throughout your teaching, you learn that, like, you will not affect 100% of your kids 100% of the time. And so you really have to learn how to focus your effort in the places that you have intentionally planned for, right? Like, if today I'm going to focus on these kids because they don't understand this thing, they are my focus today. And it's okay that not everybody got my attention. And when I learned that, I started to see such, like, incredible gains, because just because 10 kids were on their computer doing something they weren't supposed to do, 10 other ones learned that day. And sometimes that's more than I would in a whole group lesson when only 3 of them are listening. So then I took that with me as like a coach, and I said, like, focus on the teachers that you're able to build the relationship with and pour in. And once the other teachers see that, like, hey, she's getting results, they want to jump on board too. As a program specialist, that's when you kind of like teacher to coach, program specialist, right? Because now it's not just your school; it's everybody's school. It's everybody in the district, and with the district that I work in, that's very very large. You have a ton of needs to attend to. So, I think as a program specialist, just learning that relationships come first, and once you can establish in a relationship with someone, build the buy-in, understand that that trust is going to get you to where you need to be, that's how you create teams and systems that work, because that was a struggle at the beginning. I mean, when as a program specialist we get sent into schools and they say, okay, fix the team, and you're like, they say fix the student achievement, but then you have to fix the teachers, and not that there's anything wrong with them, but fine tune their skills to be able to teach kids. That's hard, because now you're not working with 10, 11, 12 year olds, you're working with adults. So that was a big change as a program specialist, to take those things that I learned as a coach and a teacher and apply them to like getting real trust and buy-in from adults to learn from you. And I think that's something we all continue to learn. Nobody's an expert at that, and it's a different thing every time you meet a new group and a new dynamic of people.
Definitely, I don't think you ever become like truly an expert. As like, yeah, you might have quite a bit of skills to build relationship, but you might show up to the school and it's completely different, and you have to try. Like, there's days I had to pray and be like, Lord, how do I connect with this person? Like, what do I need to do to get the buy-in, to get connected so that I can tap into the power that's within them? Because I really believe, like, teacher has a power to shape, like, the kids that's in front of them. Think about it. Absolutely. Sometimes even as being strict and holding you accountable to the work can shift the trajectory of your life. So I always want them to be able to see, like, there's power within you to shape these 120 kids that you see daily. So it's, how do I tap into that to help you see the potential that those kids have? So when you hear the word power of a teacher, what comes to mind?
That we have so much more realm of influence than goes with the job description. Because I thought when I was in school, I gotta get my textbook out and we're gonna highlight and it's gonna be so good. But like, when you get into the classroom, you realize that the amount of decisions you make in one day, and like 90% of them don't have to do with content. There's like, this girl is crying, this boy's having a bad day, these two are yelling at each other. How do you build relationship with kids to get them to listen to you? How do you manage your overly long to-do list, right? So like, the power of a teacher comes from like being able to, like you said, change the trajectory of a kid's life. So even if they failed my class because they couldn't like do the content, but if they learned how to problem solve, how to sit next to the kid in class they were afraid to talk to, learn how to organize their life and be able to be organized in the next grade level, you may never see that on a score, but your teachers after will be like, dang, this kid's organized, right? But that could be you. So you have a lot of power that you don't even realize that you are going in the classroom having.
So finally, if you could encourage every teacher, parents listening right now, what's one message you would leave with them?
One message I would leave. It would be to really give teachers the credit they deserve, because they will go home, do extra work for no pay, just to make sure that your kids succeed. And as a mom, I hope that my kid's teacher cares enough, to do that. And sometimes our realm of work goes outside of the work hours, and not, like I said earlier, like, we don't want burnout, right? But like, just honor the people that will go above and beyond because they care so much about your child. And that they learn and that they have their therapist at their school and their cheerleader and their mom, right? Like, they'll go above and beyond for your kid, and you should be a partner with them as opposed to someone who's either telling someone what to do or combative. Because the parents that worked with me are the parents that saw success with their kids. And also the admin that worked with their teachers had the best success in moving kids. So, just understanding and knowing that most intentions come from a good place.
Oh, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Yeah.
And when we're thinking about this episode, they are heading back to school. So what would you tell the kids that's heading back to school for this new school year?
Don't give your teachers a hard time because they love you and they're trying their best. And something else I always used to tell kids, especially now that we're, like, you and I both work in the high school realm, even though most of my career was in the middle school realm, to communicate with your teachers. There was always times when my brother would come home. We have a 15-year age gap. So he's like my second, he's my other baby, right? He would come home and he'd be like, my teacher yelled at me, or he did this, that, and the other, or I hate her. And I'd be like, well, did you talk to them? Did you ask your teacher? Did you have a conversation with them? Because we're all human. So my advice to the kids would be like, if you have an issue, you need help, talk to the adults on your campus and get what you need.
You heard it. Get what you need. Communication skills will definitely help you this school year. Well, thank you, Brittany, for sharing your wisdom with us.
You're welcome.
And thank you for sharing your journey with all of our listeners. And this is the time where we, like, one of my favorite part of the show is reading a letter that's written by a student or to a teacher. And this letter right here is to Mrs. Capers, from Lake Highland Prep. Dear Mrs. Capers, thank you so much for being such an incredible math teacher. Before you became my teacher, math felt difficult and even a little boring. But your class completely changed that. You have a special way of breaking down complex concepts and explaining them so clearly that everything began to make sense. I'm especially grateful for your patience. No matter how many questions we ask, you always take the time to help us understand without ever making us feel rushed. Your encouragement and positive energy make your classroom a welcoming place where it's okay to learn, ask questions, and grow. I truly love being in your class, and I appreciate all the time, care, and dedication you pour into your students each day. Thank you for believing in us, and thank you for being such an amazing teacher. With gratitude. And this is from Miss Hannah. Thank you, Miss Capers, for the teacher that you are. Miss Hannah just told you her heart, and Hannah, thank you for sharing your heart with all of our listeners. What resonated with you from this letter?
Just goes to show you that, like, the things that you do with kids that may have been 1 or 2 seconds long last forever for a kid.
Definitely, it's funny. I thought it was so fitting hearing you talk about how you find math difficult, and I thought about this letter that was chosen for today, that she as well found math difficult at first, but now she's like thriving in math.
Yeah, which is great. It's what we want.
Definitely. Well, this wraps up another episode of Power of a Teacher. Thank you for spending time with us. We wish you a successful school year, and if there's a teacher out there that has impacted your life and you have not had a chance to tell them, feel free to head to our website and submit a letter. Yours could be next. And again, thank you for watching. Have a great week.